going on, everybody, and welcome back. Today, guys, we are here to check out the cheapest welders I could find on the internet. Sort of. Not exactly the cheapest, but really close, still with halfway decent ratings. I want to show you guys some stuff that hopefully works pretty good. 3 of these are from Amazon. Another one is directly from the company itself. They sent it to me a while ago. I told them when I get time, I'll happily check it out. So we're going to be including that one in here today. So our cheapest one is $40.99. $42.19. Right here we have $62.99. And then the most expensive one, but potentially the best one, $99.99. Now, none of these are sponsored. Nobody's paying me to review any of these, but again, with full accuracy, and just to be completely upfront with you guys, Mechpow did send this over to me 3 or 4 months ago. This is not my first welding video. This would technically be my third. And as you guys pointed out in my last video, I and my cousin are clearly expert welders. We are going to weld right here on this standing computer desk next to all this dry wood.
A local YouTuber was welding indoors when the house suddenly went up in flames.
No, it'll be fine, guys. We have a bunch of Temu fire extinguishers around in case anything goes wrong. And this desk is already damaged. This is my junk desk. This is what it's for. So, real quick little fun fact. Behind me is the wood for a custom built-in cabinet type system for my complete bathroom remodel. Guys, we're doing a whole video on that. And let's just say most of the stuff is from Temu, and you're gonna be surprised. So make sure to like, subscribe, get that bell notification on if you wanna see more videos like this, or if you wanna check out some of our future renovation videos. Honestly, it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of work. I've been going pretty much non-stop on everything for the last couple of weeks, but it's good. All right, guys, first up, we're gonna be testing out, this is called the Siesi mini welder, and holy crap, look at this. This is palm of my hand. Very, very average, adequate. Man-size hands, of course. I mean, but wow, that is tiny. This is supposed to be a 250 amp welder. Comes with some pretty basic equipment. You have your ground clamp here, you have your rod clamp. You have a little bit of a striker and brush cleaner here. I don't know what these are for. They definitely don't use these for, okay. Next up, we have ourselves the standard cheap Chinese plastic face mask. So these are a solid face mask. They're not a phase changing. They're just going to stay continuously dark. Listen, if you're in a pinch and you need something, they will work. Now, my favorite thing, not something I'm going to be using, but they will work if you need them to. They always come flat like this. You kind of fold them over, clip them in, get yourself a little handle. Again, it'll work, but it's not something I'm going to be using. I imagine a lot of them are going to have that. Now, real quick, I did throw this down here. This is just one of our fire blankets from Temu. We tested them out in our fire extinguisher test last week. So I know that it'll at least stop a little bit of heat from getting through, and that's all we really need to do. Even if this table catches on fire, guys, don't worry. Everything will be just fine. This is totally safe. We have a fire extinguisher from Temu. And if you guys watch the video, you will know. Worked pretty good, actually. Now, for each of our tests that requires a rod, we're going to be using the same Lincoln Electric E7018s. Pretty solid, pretty easy to run rod, from what I understand. Now, these are normally kept in a nice little plastic dehumidifier type container to keep them dry, so these ones are good to go. Now, we're going to be using this with an extension cord. Overall, it is not highly suggested with an extension cord, but this is a heavier rated one, so this one should be good to go. Okay, it's a little loud, no surprise there. Looks like we have a digital meter here for the amperage. We're going to start at right around 200. We're just going to kind of run a couple of tacks here and see how she goes. I don't have any cement here, so we're cleaning off the electrode with some sandpaper. All right, she took a second to arc, but once she got it, it actually held in all right. Again, my welds aren't going to be super pretty, guys, but that's not too bad, really. This is said to have a 60% duty cycle, so it should operate 6 minutes out of every 10 minutes. All right, took me a little bit of a second to strike, but a lot of that's probably user error as opposed to actually an issue with the machine. Now we can still see some bubbling around the edges. Honestly, a lot of this is probably user error, so we got to take this all with a grain of salt. But the fact that this little tiny $42 welder will weld this together means that this right here might be perfect to just keep in a vehicle with you. There are plenty of little things you could run this off of. That's pretty awesome. All right, guys, we had to switch venues. My air system inside wasn't quite keeping up, so I decided to hold off, play it smart, bring it out to the outside shop that's unfinished. Guys, I'm full of projects, don't you worry. All right, so now what I want to test with this last thing, it's pretty clear that the welds will hold. So what I want to test next, I want to test 1/4-inch pieces. Probably not going to test the 1/2 inch, but I might, we'll see. And then I want to test out the duty cycle. This is supposed to have a 60% duty cycle. That basically means for 6 out of 10 minutes, it can run. So you should be able to weld with this thing continuously for about 6 minutes, and then you give it a 4-minute break to cool down. But I just want to see if it'll make it to that. That was one of the problems we had with the other one. Well, the Timu one specifically, that one had about a 20% duty cycle, and if you went over that a couple of times, it completely killed the unit. God dang, guys, I am no professional, but I will say that looks pretty freaking good. I mean, for me, guys, that looks good for me. Again, no professional, but holy cow. If this thing runs through this next test, this is a huge win. I mean, this thing is tiny. So next, we're gonna put a fresh stick in here, and we're gonna run it all the way through. We're gonna run this stick all the way through best we can. So we got through the entire stick, but the machine did shut off on its own. We weren't going for a beauty weld here. We're kind of popping my plate up. That's all right. So we'll take a break and we'll see what happens. Okay, so good news is the little machine here, it didn't shut off. It took the breaker out in my house. I mean, it ran through almost an entire stick, and the only thing that shut it off was the breaker in my house. Guys, that's a win. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I need to see from this machine. This little thing is awesome. It's tiny. I have no idea exactly how long it's gonna last, but guys, this is $40. You can fit this in a little Pelican case, keep in the back of your truck, as long as you got a strong enough inverter. That's 1/4 inch right there. I think that's enough for this thing to be a pass. So on to the next one. All right, guys, this gray one here is gonna be our next unit. This thing came in at $42.19. So basically $1 more. First couple of differences off the bat, it came with a different pair of gloves. These are not welding gloves. These are not going to help you weld. Don't use those for welding. It came with an almost identical plastic mask, except for the way they packaged this one, kind of bend it all to crap. Came with the exact same weld cleaner right there. Now, a couple major differences. This one came with 10 sticks, 10 welding rods. It is LTJ422. But hey, it's included. That's a lot more useful than a white pair of crappy gloves that you can't use. Build on these, very, very, very similar. This one's about 20% larger. 4 inches wide, 3.5 inches wide. 8 inches long, 7.5 inches long. You can see in the backs here, they're also pretty similar in the back. You have some pretty similar dials. This one's angled up a little bit with a red light. This one's straight out, green light. Aside from that, they're pretty dang similar. Now with these guys, I'm kind of just running them all out because I figure if we're gonna have our point of failure with the unit, it's gonna be at max amperage. So that's kind of why I'm sticking with max instead of kicking it a little lower. This one seems to be working about the same. I'm having a little bit more trouble striking it, but again, that could heavily be just user error. I keep having to clean off my electrode here as well. All right, got it nice and clean. Let's give it another shot. Now with this one, I'm gonna try to start on the far side and just kind of run it all the way down and see how well it hangs in there. Yeah, this one is surprisingly more difficult to get to strike. Now, maybe somebody in the comments can help me understand why. There's absolutely a strong chance it's just user error. The metal was similarly clean. I made sure the electrode was exposed, but for some reason, this one doesn't feel quite as easy to get started on. Now, in the end, the welds look about the same if you ignore all of my spattering and the fact that I had to clip off the electrode because it got stuck so bad, but it's interesting. So let's go ahead and step up and we'll try the next thickness. We'll go up to a quarter. All right, so we have our quarter on top, and then on the bottom, we do still have our eighth. I want to give this thing a chance, kind of see if it doesn't adhere to the quarter, if it's not getting hot enough, it'll be kind of easy to break off with a hammer. All right, again, so aside from my lack of experience, that appears to have adhered pretty well. Now, if we turn it around, we can see that the heat was starting to penetrate through to the other side. So we're definitely getting the amperage we need. I mean, the weld doesn't look bad. I mean, again, the weld looks bad, but I'm saying for the price and my skill level, that would do. That would hold. All right, we're gonna try the other side. We're gonna run one stick all the way through. I mean, we kind of did with this one, but we had a little break, but we'll give it a little bit more of a test and see how much further this one can go. All right, so taking a closer look right here, I mean, it does not look bad. Again, I'm impressing myself. I don't know, these cheap little welders are fun. When I first bought my cheap welder, it was my $130 Harbor Freight wire welder, and for a stick welder, this is pretty impressive. So this welder right here, it made it through its test. Now this one did not have a percentage rating in the pamphlet, so I'm not exactly sure what the duty cycle is supposed to be on this, but we ran it for quite a while without any single issues. I mean, if you're gonna run through a whole stick and not run into problems, I accidentally welded this one to my test plate somehow. Well, there it is. We burned a hole right through the bottom and welded it to the test plate. I'd say that's a pretty good showing. All right, guys, next up we have the Azuno. Now, this one's a little different than the last two because this is a MIG wire welder. Now, I did have the tip off here. I was just finishing setup. Let's get that back on there. I always find it a little easier to take the nozzle out at the end when you're first running the wire through. So, this in here comes in at $63. It is the MIG 130F. You can see here we have voltage and wire speed. Then you have your handheld, and then you have a ground. So we're gonna go ahead and set it up, and let's see what this sucker can do. Now, make sure to stick around for that last one. It is the most expensive, but it does have the most features. This one also comes with a couple of extra nozzles and an extra cover inside of the guidebook. This one, however, was the first one that didn't come with the chintzy welding mask or any weird gloves. So it did come with a full spool of E71T flux core wire. So that means the flux is going to be inside of the wire. It's a type of MIG that doesn't require gas. It's simple, it's easy, and it's actually how I started welding with my super cheap Lincoln welder from Harbor Freight. Powered on, this one's a little bit louder than the other ones. It's got a little bit louder of a fan curve to it. Now, suffice to say, this one also has the longest ground cable we've seen so far. This one comes in at 6 feet. Also, real quick, if you look inside here, this is where the wire goes. This is your clamp. This is your locking mechanism for the spool. All the instructions are nicely labeled right at the top. Now, starting right off, as you can see, even tacking this took a little bit of extra effort. These are not going to be nearly as strong as a stick welder. Gonna turn up the wire speed just a little bit. She's a little slow. Now, as far as the wire welder goes, it seems to work pretty easy. It's penetrating far enough. As you can see, I held it just a little bit long there, and it was cutting right through these sheets. So not bad. Now, in my opinion, the wire welder, it's a lot easier to use because the arc is so much easier to get started. But in the end, I feel like a stick welder of any kind, even those tiny ones, it's gonna get you a lot stronger weld. It's really gonna lay the material on a lot thicker and penetrate a lot deeper. But again, that's just in my experience with my level of welding. But this one does seem to work. It has no problem with the duty cycle. It seems to just kind of keep pushing through. So this will run 0.8 and 0.9 flux core wire. We're currently on flux 0.8 because that's the wire that it came with. But overall, it feels like a pretty well-built unit. Now, let's try something a little bit thicker real quick, and then we'll move on to the last one. We're gonna go back to our 1/4 inch test piece from earlier. I feel like it's just a kind of a cool one to test on. I wanna see if it's able to penetrate and really get in there. Yeah, even up to 1/4 inch, this thing definitely has absolutely zero issue penetrating. If you get close, you can see it actually starts to eat into it. It really shows that it's got enough current to penetrate, no problem. And you can see the discoloration across the bottom right here, showing that it's definitely getting hot enough. So for easy use in really small projects or thin metal projects, for $63, this thing's pretty killer. But now, if you want the best of both worlds, stick and wire, we should check out the last one. Also guys, if there's any future tests you guys want me to do with welding, I'm just kind of going off the top of my head here, things that I would use it for, use cases that I would think would be good for this. Let me know down below. If you guys think I'm an idiot and you think I can't weld, that's fair. Let me know down below. All right guys, now this one here, this is the multi-purpose Mechpow. Right here we have the handle for the welding rods, and then we also have the built-in wire feeder. Has the same flux core wire. It also has the instructions up here on the top. Really nice light blue tealish color. I like that a lot. Now, with that said, it does have one of the shorter grounding cables, but quality-wise, it definitely feels like the highest quality grounding strap. I know that's weird to say. It's got a nice look to it. It has a nice copper connector inside. Like, this thing is solid. It came with the same striking tool as the rest for cleaning. Again, these are just a little underweighted for me. And then of course it also came with the cheap permanent mask, which we're not going to be using because we have our little welding helmet here. By the way, this welding helmet I've had for years. It's the Moto Techwear. I got this thing from Amazon. Only complain about this guy. Kind of goes through batteries quite a bit. So if you don't want it to run out of batteries and you don't weld much, just pop the battery on out. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the wire welder. Then we will try some stick for a good comparison. What are you saying? Now this in here also includes all the same controls. Has a nice digital display right on the front. This one will allow you to use 0.8 up to 1 millimeter wire. Then it also gives you the option for lift TIG and I don't know, a lot more stuff than I know, but let's go ahead and crank the amps up. Oh, that's the wire speed on the left. This in here, the amps is on the right. Now this one does max out at 100 amps for the wire welding. I like the option of having both. Oh yeah, without a question, this wire welder has a lot more power than the Azuno. I mean, it's only about 30 bucks more, 40 bucks more, but I mean, I can just instantly feel the power difference, instantly. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That took actual seconds. Wow. Now, another quick showing here. On the back, you can see it was definitely penetrating. Oh yeah, God, that was instant. All right, let's finish up this side. Then we're gonna swap out this handle here and run that. Now, the only downside to having a swappable one is that when I go to take this off, I have to wind that wire back up or cut it. Obviously, winding it back up makes more sense. It's not a huge deal, but it's nice to have both options again. Not too bad for an amateur. Not too bad at all. I didn't expect this one to, to outperform the other ones so much. That's impressive. The wire welding feature on this one it's definitely a world above the other ones. You know, not too bad. At first I wasn't too sure about it. It felt like it might have been cold, but it's looking pretty good. It was pooling nicely. Let's go ahead and try a little bit thicker piece. Now, my main concern about this one is it doesn't go up to the 250 amps, but apparently it doesn't need to. All right, and now for a pretty overbearing test, we're gonna use the 1/2 inch for our lower and the 1/4 inch for our upper. Let's see if it can do it. All right, not the most scientific of tests, but we're gonna go ahead and smack her from the weak side. We got the weld facing down, so if it's gonna peel, it'll be right here. Let's try to ignore the mess we got going on. Here's the plate again right here. So on this thicker stuff, guys, the thermal transfer was just a bit too much. We did manage to knock it off, and as you can see, there isn't exactly much in the way of penetration into the 1/4. A little bit of penetration into the 1/4, but I don't really think this was getting much into the 1/2. Either way, I think this is the one I'm gonna be keeping. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this one, but honestly, I'm really impressed with all of them. The super tiny ones. Honestly, this is just another thing showing us. It's kind of crazy what you can get for under $100 these days. On that note, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.